Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. Today's video is going to be the 9 lessons that I learned in life so far. Obviously, I got plenty more to learn, but these are just the 9 lessons I learned in life around my 20s, I should say. So if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to throw a thumbs up down below. Do not forget to subscribe if you are new here, and let's get straight into it. The first lesson is huge, and that's why I put it as number 1. Is I learned to never rely on others, whether it is for money, for comfort, for anything. Do not rely or put your baggage on others. Independence is key. I feel like that's the key to life, is independency. And once when you learn how to be independent, and once when you learn how to do your own thing without others around you, you're golden. I learned this right when I picked up the minimalist lifestyle. It took me a while. I became a minimalist when I was around 24, 25. Once when I hit around like 19, 20, I was that person to call my friends and be like, well, whatever, so-called friends, call them and be like, hey, do you want to come to the store with me? I need to go grab some cereal. Like, I kind of relied on people way too much, whether it was just to go across the street to go get cereal or something. It was kind of silly, and even to the point where I had no money in the bank because I was stupid enough to spend my money on makeup, shoes, bags, and then I had to call up friends and be like, hey, my car died, can I borrow $5 grand? It's like, in my head, I'm like, who does that? Like, Kira, what were you thinking? So that was one of the biggest lessons and the biggest kick in the butt I've ever learned, because I had to pay back 2 people when it comes to buying cars. I had to buy 2 cars, borrow 2 separate piles of money from people, and I'm like, whoa. This is so childish. I need to snap out of this mindset, get my butt going when it comes to independency, because learning how to be independent was honestly the best thing that I've ever done for myself. Even before being vegan, even before being a minimalist, independency is like my key. It's like that was the key that opened all my doors. Like sometimes it hits me where I come home, lay in bed, and I'm like, wait a minute. I paid for everything in this house by myself. I worked my butt off. I saved. I pay my own rent. I pay my own gas, lights, car, everything. And it's not bragging. It just makes you feel like, holy crap. I did this. Like, if someone would have told me that I was gonna live on my own, buy a new car, do everything by myself, go to the stores by myself, that's pretty huge, because I would be so afraid and shy. If someone was to tell me that 10 years ago, which that would make me like 18, 10 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, right, there's no way, I'm too afraid to do any of that. I rely on others way too much for that. And if you guys are relying on others, just think of it this way. Would you want someone to rely on you constantly for company, for going anywhere, including the laundromat or anything, when you're capable of doing that on your own? Would you want someone to rely on you for money? So basically you're their wallet. Just gotta think of those things, and that's what made me feel like I need to change. This needs to change. And so I finally changed that once I adapted, obviously, a minimalist lifestyle and seen a clear vision of where my life was going. And I don't know, it feels great to learn that one big lesson, because that one big lesson taught me all my other lessons. The second lesson I learned in life so far is the value of $1. When it comes to money, if you do not understand, or you do not learn how to understand the value of it, you're never gonna appreciate what you make, or anything that you buy. So for a little example, I was working at a bank overnight back in the day, and it was not working in the bank. It was more like cleaning the banks at night, which was one of the scariest jobs I've ever had. If you guys want a story time on that, I got a couple stories of what happened to me at night with that job. Let me know down below. It's pretty creepy. But with working at the bank for, I want to say like 5 to 6 hours a night, I didn't appreciate the money that I was making. It was pretty bad back then. I was making like 80 bucks, probably like 90 a week. I did get gypped off, but that's besides the point. With that money, I didn't save any of it. Like, I thought, okay, I'm getting paid a little bit, so let me just spend it. It's nothing. I'll just save like 10 bucks for gas, call it a day. And by that time I had a really crappy car. I had like a 1995 Maxima. So with me not learning the value of even that little bit amount that I was making, putting it in the bank, I could have saved myself some car problems in the future. Could have saved myself some backed up interest from my school loan, because even though I was making only 80 bucks, I had to learn that 80 bucks is not a little bit. It is a little bit, but it's not at the same time. So to me, if you want to talk to me now with $80, I'll throw that right into the bank, because $80 could easily add up to 100. So I was stupid back then, and then of course I didn't learn the value, or I didn't appreciate the value of what I was making. So when my car died, I had to call for help. Whether I had a flat tire, I had to call for help. I had to call for money because I didn't have a credit card back then because my credit was bad. And yeah, so that is what I'm saying, where I learned the value of money, not just a dollar, but money in general. And that is a big kick in the butt. And I think when it comes to learning that value of money, I feel like with these teenagers at my job that have no clue, and no hate to them, but I mean, I was there as well. I feel like if your parents kind of pay for everything for you, you're probably never gonna learn the value of a dollar. I appreciate my mom so much because she did give me a roof over my head, and there's nothing I can do to repay her everything that she did for me and my sisters. But one big lesson that she always taught me was, if you want something in life, you gotta work for it, and you have to appreciate what you're working for. So, you know, till this day, I thank her so much for that lesson, because I see tons of teenagers at my job that have these fancy new cars, and they're relying on their parents to pay for them. So they're at work on their phones doing basically nothing. So whatever, you know, even if they go to work for a couple hours, they spend their money on going out, doing things. And I understand they're young and it's fun to do all those things. Even though my mom wasn't giving me the money, I tried my best to find it other ways, which that was my stupid teenage mentality. We all go through it. We live and we learn. So learning the value of a dollar is pretty big. And I know when I have a kid, I'm not gonna buy them everything. Obviously, I don't want them to be in the same predicament I was in, but I do want them to learn that money just doesn't grow on trees, like that old saying, because it really doesn't. I know people want to get technical saying, well, it's paper. It's not a technical saying. It's just that money just doesn't pop out of nowhere. People got to work for it. People work really hard for it, unless you know, you hit the mega bucks or whatever. But learning the aspect of appreciating what you make and how much hours it takes to make that money, that was a big lesson for me. The third lesson I learned was that buying fancy or luxury name brand items doesn't make your life any better. A little example with this, I got examples for all these lessons, obviously. They're lessons for a reason. I did go through them, but this example is funny because I thought back then that wearing what everybody else was wearing, including if it was Rockaware or whatever that was in back then, you know, Louis Vuitton was still in as well when I was a kid. I thought, if I have that, my life would be just like theirs. My life would be so much better. When in all reality, if you own what everybody else has, you're just a duplicate version of everybody else. It's like copy paste, copy paste. I'm like, no. So that lesson I learned because I was buying items such as like imitation items. Obviously I couldn't afford the real things, but I would go out of my way to go to these little hidden markets. I would say, like, they were in like deep Boston, and they were these markets where you paid like $5 to get in, and when you walked in, it was like imitation luxury brands everywhere. They had like Ray-Bans for like $5. They had Gucci shoes for like $10. And you know, that was a lesson that I learned because I ended up spending like $500 at that place, and I was wearing like Michael Kors bags to work, and I was like 22, 23, around there. I was wearing all this stuff to work thinking that I was, you know, basically. So, and then with me thinking that I was, you know, the best thing around the block, People would always ask me, oh my God, how are you able to afford such luxury brands while making this much money? And I don't know how to explain how I was back then, but let's just say I was a different person. And with me learning that luxury brands, I feel like luxury is just a perception. If you feel like this jean jacket is luxury, then it is for you. It doesn't matter if it says Versace or Gucci, whatever the hell people are into nowadays. For me personally, I got over it because I was seeing everybody in my little town wearing the same Michael Kors purse. You went to the store and they all had that same light tan with the brown strap, and it said MK all over it. And then one day I really sat down at the mall and I was like looking at my wallet. My wallet was like a fake Prada wallet. And then I had a fake Michael Kors watch. I had Michael Kors earrings. I had Versace sandals. Obviously all of it was fake. And I'm like, what am I wearing? It scared me because I looked around at the mall. I looked all the way around and I'm like, everybody is wearing the same thing. I don't want to be like everybody else. It kind of like just snapped. So that was like a big lesson for me. Eventually I actually gave away all the stuff that I bought. So I lost a lot of money, gave away everything, and I ended up with nothing and starting from scratch, which is perfectly fine because now I do not own not one thing, not one item in my house that says a name brand. Not even my food says where they're from. Like my food's in glass mason jars. But that's like just aesthetically pleasing for my intake. But I would say luxury is a perception. I say this constantly to everybody at work. I see a lot of people that still wear Michael Kors, which I'm not judging. Everyone likes what they like, but those are all fast fashion trends, and we all know what happens with fast fashion. They end up in the landfill when they are not in fashion anymore, and it's horrible. You know, the clothes that we do wear have chemicals in it, so it doesn't break down until way over like 50 years, and I'm not gonna get too in depth with that. That's a whole other story. But if we all calm down with trying to be like celebrities or trying to wear what everybody else is wearing, then we will all kind of learn this one lesson. So to sum it all up, me not getting too in depth with it, buying fancy things isn't so fancy in the long run. So my point being, when it comes to buying luxury, buying fancy items, it's not worth it. The fourth lesson that I learned is to stop comparing myself to others, especially on social media. Instagram is an awesome platform, but there was a time where I was obsessed with it. There was a time where my Instagram did not look the way it did. I actually deleted that whole account. I was around 21, around there. And of course, I wanted to look like the Kardashians. I wanted to look like, you know, those models in the music videos. So I bought tight dresses, took nice sexy pictures, always trying to make myself look like the other models or the other people's lifestyles where they had all this, you know, bunch of purses in the background. I tried my best to look like others. And not just with social media, I just tried my best to compare myself with others, and learning that one lesson where it's like their life isn't probably like that. You know, social media in general is anything but reality. I was constantly checking it, seeing what everyone else is posting, seeing what everyone else is buying. You know, I thought that was their reality, and I wanted to compare myself, like, wow, she's got a nice Range Rover, I want that, blah blah blah. How I got over that lesson, I deleted Instagram. It wasn't until around 6 years later that I opened up another one, and that's the one I have today, which I like to post, you know, music for you guys. I like to show you like updated plants and stuff or what I'm doing. My Instagram is a lot different now, and I don't go look at other people's profiles, like celebrities, I'm saying. I don't go out of my way to try to compare myself anymore to anybody on social media, even in the, you know, real world as well. That's the simplest thing on how I learned that lesson was I deleted the app. And completely acted like I didn't know any of it. Completely acted like it never happened. Obviously I'm on it now, but not as how I was back then. I'm like a total different person, and I love to be on it to talk to you guys. I love to interact with you guys, see what you guys are up to, and you guys give me great feedback on all my videos and stuff. So I feel like it is a good platform. At the same time, it could be a really bad platform for someone that isn't sure on what they are doing with their life or think that social media is like reality. So my best bet, if you guys want to learn that lesson that I learned, just delete the app. The 5th lesson I learned in life was learning that failing is okay. It's part of the learning process. I would fail at everything. I would fail at school. I would fail at saving. I would fail at trying to be a good friend. I would fail at everything. And instead of me getting back up, I would always end up laying in bed, crying, thinking, why is my life like this? Why do I suck at everything? When that's not the case. If you don't fail at something that you're doing, and I'm not saying that failing is a good thing, but if you don't fail at trying to make something happen, you got to get back up and try it again, because how are you going to respect the process if you don't go through the process, if that makes any sense? So that's what I did. I got back up and I kept trying and I kept trying, and then I kept saying failing is okay, it's part of the process of learning something. I'm gonna get better and better, just like practice makes perfect, which I truly believe in. And you know, if you guys look back at even my old YouTube videos, they weren't the best quality. I kind of like struggled a lot to talk about certain things because I was learning, and that was okay. Like the old Kira would have just quit because I felt like, oh, I failed, I'm not doing it again. But failing is okay, and I'm glad that I learned that is okay, because I would have given up on a lot of things. I probably would have given up on YouTube. I probably would have given up on this job, because when I first started my job at the nursing home, I felt like I sucked. I felt like, oh my God, there's like 120 residents. How am I gonna remember all their names, their diets? You know, I put these thoughts in my head where that I'm failing. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Once when you keep doing something, it becomes the norm. It becomes something that's a part of you. So now I can do my job with my eyes closed. I can edit with my eyes closed, which I feel like I could edit a little bit faster, but you know, editing takes a while. But I'm still learning though. I'm still learning things at my job, still learning about new diets that come into play when new residents come in, still learning about YouTube, still learning on how to make my videos look better, sound better, and it's okay to fail. So learning that it's okay to fail, this gives me a sense of like relief. The 6th lesson that I learned was recently, and this is because I was at the stage right now, I want to say around March, I learned this lesson. You got my debt, you got my savings account. I was putting more into my savings account than more in my debt. My debt was kind of getting bigger and bigger because the interest rate, while my savings account was growing, but that's all it was doing, was sitting in there. And I truly believe in that saying where you got to spend money to make money, because with me boosting up, with me actually taking half of my savings account, which sounds crazy, but I took half of my savings account and I'm just throwing it into that debt. So that debt is just slightly like fading away. And how I learned this lesson was that I was at work one day and I was just writing out my bills in the break room, and I was doing the calculations, and I was doing my student loan, and I realized that the interest rate was really bad. And I'm like, wait a minute, if I have this X amount in the bank and I have this amount in debt, they both don't make sense. Like, I feel like you're not truly saving if you're in debt. You want to, I hate to say it, but you want to put more in your debt than in savings. I know it sounds so silly and people are going to probably disagree with me, but once when that debt is clear, you will be able to save even more, because you won't have to pay interest or anything like that. You won't have to have something on your back being like, hey, you forgot to pay me. Hey, I'm getting bigger and bigger. Like, it's just, I know it sounds so funny, but so with that being said, back in March, it was going, with me doing my calculations on what I was paying for my student loan, it was going to take me till I was 36 years old till the student loan to be completely gone. And that's what made me go crazy. I'm like, by 36, I'll probably have kids, and I don't want to pay for a student loan. I want to actually put money away for their college. There's no way I want to keep doing this. So with it being in the summertime right now, the end of summer, I should say, that loan's almost paid off. Believe it or not, you guys, it went from, I want to say like 10 to 11 grand. It was like 11 grand, I want to say. to 5 grand right now. I've been working extra hours. Every dime I get from YouTube goes straight to the loan. Every kind of piece of money that I get, whether it's cash, gift cards. If it's a gift card, I try to cash them out. You know, those little cash out machines. But I always try to ask people lately for cash if they insist on getting me a gift, because I tell them I want to pay off my student loan. If you guys insist on getting me a gift, I prefer cash right now just so I can pay off the loan. Sure enough, my mom listened to me, like everyone was listening to me, and I promised myself that I will pay this loan off before I hit 29. And it looks like I'm paying it off before Christmas time. So it was a huge lesson that saving isn't always the best way to go when you're in debt. I feel like getting rid of the debt and then saving. Obviously, you want to have some extra money in the savings account in case something happens. Reasonable. 2 to 3 grand into savings, that's fine. But you don't want to have 20 grand into savings and then 10 grand in debt. It's like, you got 20 grand and you got 10 grand for debt. Why don't you just throw that 10 grand in your debt and then it's gone? Some people will be like, no, I like to have it in my account. I like to look at it. It's not doing you any good. It's just sitting there. I feel like paying a student loan for the rest of your life is like you're in jail. It really is. It's like they charge you so much money per day. And not to mention the interest rate changes frequently. And that's just that's just in the US, you guys. It's not around the world. I'm just speaking of the US. Number 7 of another thing that I learned is waiting too long to get things done, to get certain important things done, I should say. I used to be a procrastinator where I would be like, all right, you know what? I need food in my house, but I'll just save it for tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and I'm like, nah, I'll just eat at work and then I'll be starving, going to bed because all the stores are closed because I waited too long to go grocery shopping. Another case was waiting too long to do oil changes for my car. And that caused a little bit of problems with the vehicles that I had. I would always go over 5,000 miles without doing an oil change, sometimes 7,000 miles. And it was so silly because I could have prolonged a lot of things breaking from that. I kind of wanted to get these top wisdom teeth out and I waited too long and I was like, I always kept putting it off. Fast forward to now, I want to say like 7 years later, this wisdom tooth up here has a giant cavity on it. And now it needs to get pulled out and my dentist already said it might break into pieces, so it might take a little bit longer. I could have easily avoided all of that if I would have got these two both out. So obviously I just recently learned this, I want to say like 2 years ago, where I was like, you know what? No more waiting too long to do important things. No more waiting too long to do an oil change. I always have reminders. All right, Kira, you're at 600 miles. You have about 100 more miles to go to do an oil change. I'll do it earlier. Everything that I felt like I was waiting too long to do, I would do it earlier. I would make it a point. If I only have 2 meals left, that I can make like 2 meals left in the house, I'll go grocery shopping. If I have a whole load of laundry to do, I won't go in my closet and try to find another outfit. I will go do laundry so I don't have to scrounge up a random outfit where it's just pajama bottoms and a dress-up shirt, because I've done that too. So that's definitely a pretty good lesson that I learned, and I had to learn it the hard way too. Some nights I'd be like, Kira, stop doing this. You need to do things ahead of time. And I made it a point to myself that I would never wait too long to do anything again. Number 8 lesson that I learned is that being perfect is not always perfect. Now, what I mean by that is that I felt that I needed to look perfect every day of the week, whether it was a lazy Sunday, whether it was a very busy Saturday. An example of this, I used to go get pedicures every month. I used to go get designs on them, whether it was palm trees. I used to try to make them go with the themes. I used to get French manicure only on my nails at the salons, but I used to try to be that perfect human. I should say like try to look perfect. But when it comes to trying to be perfect, there's no such thing. In all reality, there's not one thing in this life that's perfect. For an awesome example, those sunflowers back there, they look beautiful, right? But what you don't see is that the stems on the bottom are all brown And actually the petals are missing off of those sunflowers. But from a far distance, you see 3 perfect sunflowers. And that's where I learned my lesson, where I'm like, you know what? I am trying way too hard to become this perfect human being that I'm anything but perfect. I don't want to get my nails done every day. I don't want to get my eyebrows done every week. I don't want to do my hair. And with me learning that, I feel like I'm so much more, my life is more simpler, not just me, but my life is simpler. I don't do my hair anymore. Like this was from me getting out of the shower 2 days ago, and this is how my hair is. I putting in a braid at night, call it a day. Another thing with my eyebrows, I let them grow in like thicker so I wouldn't have to fill them in all the time. Another thing is I don't really wear makeup. So with me trying to be so perfect, wearing all these things, doing all these things, I don't do any of that anymore, and I feel relief. I feel like I can get more things done in the day instead of worrying about what I look like. Yes, you want to look presentable, you want to look clean when you go out in the world, but you don't have to look perfect. I mean, there's no one that looks perfect. There's always flaws, and that's perfectly normal and fine. Letting go of my perfectionist lifestyle was a really great lesson for me. And the last, which is number 9 on my what I learned so far in life, is the fact that things come to those who work for it. I will have a whole video on my vision board on manifestation, everything like that soon. If you do not work for something, there's no way it's gonna come to you unless you have someone else probably working for you. When it came for me wanting an apartment, wanting a nice car, wanting a simpler lifestyle, I wanted all that stuff. Of course, I feel like everyone wants that. But how hard are you gonna work for it is the real question. I wasn't working towards any of it. I wasn't working towards an apartment. I wasn't working towards a nice car, nothing. I was working towards nothing. I was dreaming of all of it. Once when I realized this is something that I want, this is something that I really need, I started to go hard at work. I started to have little side hustles, things like that. And before you know it, I had money saved. I was able to find a decent apartment that I wanted. I was able to accomplish things that I've been wanting to accomplish for quite a while. And that's all because I worked for it. And that was a really good lesson to learn too, because it also teaches you respect. Like again, like what I said, you gotta respect the process of what people or you go through in order to see the outcome. With me seeing everything that I worked so hard for, it makes me want to work harder for what I want in the future. Whether that is a nice house, a little family of my own, whether that is going back to school and paying for it in cash, whatever it will be. I'm not sure. I don't like to think too ahead in the future, but I do want to say is that I will work as hard as I can to make whatever I dream of come true now. So there you guys have it. Those are the 9 lessons that I learned in life so far. Obviously, I'll probably make another one of these videos because I'm learning every day. I'm perfectly fine with learning new things every day. I feel like that's what life is about. Some people think they are know-it-alls and they don't need to learn anything because they know everything. That's fine. Let those people be. I like to keep a little bit of a reminder on what I learned throughout the years. And I do like to write it down from time to time, saying, especially with the money, with me learning how to save and stuff and learning how to be diligent. It might take us more than 20 times. Heck, it took me more than 15 times to realize that I do not need makeup to make me happy. Anyways, you guys, I'm gonna leave you on that note. And also, if you learned anything with this year, with years back, leave them down below. Maybe you guys can help others, or you guys can start a little conversation down there with others. They can actually get a little bit of advice from you. So anyways, you guys, I will catch you on the next video. Bye.